Tonight, family horror in southwest Sydney. A father accused of killing his two sons and wife in their home. Police alleging he had planned the attack for months. Flattering Anthony Albanese's response to a mountain of online memes mocking his tax changes. A huge cash splash, $11 billion to be spent keeping Australia's ageing submarines afloat. The chaotic end to a wild police pursuit, a car stolen from Canley Vale crashing to a stop in Campbelltown. What lies beneath at Bondi? The close encounter sending a shiver down swimmers' spines. And setting up camp, the Blues get down to business on the Central Coast.
This is 10 News Sydney with Sandra Sully.
But first tonight, a father is behind bars accused of killing his wife and the two autistic sons he cared for. A chilling act of alleged domestic violence that police say he had been planning for months. Today, residents remembered the mother and her two sons by laying flowers, while those who knew the family grieved their loss.
By a crime scene at Campbelltown, distressed loved ones are told the unthinkable. The lives of a mother and her two children cut short, allegedly at the hands of their father.
I just feel sorry for the kids because I got, the kids. I gave them some toys. They were lovely.
Yeah, shouldn't happen anyway, especially the kids.
The 47-year-old man, who we can't name for legal reasons, called 000 just before 8 o'clock last night. Police rushed to the scene, finding the bodies of the 46-year-old mother in the garage and the two children in a bedroom. The boys just 4 and 12 years old.
All three persons sustained significant injuries, and it was a particularly violent crime scene.
The father was taken into custody, charged with 3 counts of murder. Outside court today, his lawyer fronted cameras.
It's obviously a tragic set of circumstances to the victim, the community and the family of the victims, and he's pretty distraught at the moment.
While back at the scene, forensics turned over the Raymond Street home, seizing evidence, including a knife, the alleged murder weapon.
I feel for the extended family. I certainly feel for the police and ambulance who had to attend that scene. It was a terrible tragedy to go to.
It's understood the two boys had been diagnosed with severe autism, with their father their primary caregiver, while their mother worked full-time. The family had been living in Australia for around 10 years before the alleged events of last night.
My heart sunk, and being a mum, not only that, just 2 young kids, do you know what I mean?
As part of their case, police will allege that the 47-year-old had been planning it all for months. After reading about a murder-suicide in Perth, a mother, father and their autistic children found dead. Court documents state that he told police he suffered from depression brought on by a cancer diagnosis for which he's now in remission. He has no criminal history, nor have police received any reports of domestic violence. Today, rattled residents laid tributes at the edge of the police tape as they tried to make sense of it all.
I've just come to lay the last of my roses that I've got from home, and I just wanted to say a prayer. I'm feeling for these children, their friends, that they've got to come to school and find out that their little mate's not going to come to school today.
Well, Sandra, it's now coming up to 24 hours and the area remains a crime scene tonight, with a large section of Raymond Street still taped off as forensics continue to search the area for any evidence that they can use in their investigation. Now, of course, this has been a distressing time for residents, some of whom have told me that they remember seeing the two little boys playing out on the street and in front of the home that is now a crime scene. So, Sandra, these allegations are certainly something that they're still coming to terms with.
Indeed. All right, Hannah, thank you. Now, if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there is support. You can contact the 24-hour hotline, 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. The Prime Minister is choosing to see the lighter side of going viral for all the wrong reasons, laughing off a series of memes poking fun at his controversial tax reforms. Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers today pushing on with their big budget sell across the country, forced to defend why capital gains tax changes weren't just limited to property.
The Prime Minister turned plumber and Pilates instructor, but he's not pouting. AI-generated Anthony Albanese laughed off by the real deal.
I think some of them are very flattering and I thank them for picking very nice photos of me.
Speaking from WA, his fifth state in 4 days on a budget roadshow, it was on social media the Prime Minister and Treasurer first announced changes to capital gains tax targeting millennials and Gen Zs. And that's where young entrepreneurs are biting back.
The assault on aspiration happening right now from Labor is undermining our way of life.
The Treasurer's consulting with the sector on potential carve-outs for startups. In a statement to 10 News, the Australian Investment Council CEO argues CGT changes penalise founders, startup employees and investors. Globally, it makes Australia uncompetitive. Founders are already planning to move offshore.
Our changes are all about applying a fairer, more neutral treatment to different kinds of assets.
The risk that early stage businesses, particularly in the innovation sector, take on is something that we should encourage.
34-year-old Paloma Newton started a biotech company focused on healthcare for pets. Her diagnosis on tax reform?
Do I think that it should be applied to housing? Yes, I do. Do I think it should be applied to startups? No, I don't.
The Treasurer today explaining why the changes apply to all asset classes, not just property.
We don't want to replace one set of distortions with another set of distortions.
The Reserve Bank today warning the combination of those tax changes and rising interest rates risk cooling the housing market too much. The Assistant Governor also laying bare her concerns around higher oil costs feeding into consumer prices.
We are perhaps more worried now than we have been in the past because of circumstance and what we're facing into.
Piling even more pressure on the federal government. Chloe Boris, 10 News.
Australia's ageing fleet of submarines will undergo some major upgrades to keep them ship-shape as we wait for our first nuclear-powered AUKUS subs. Let's go live now to our federal political reporter, Matt Kustunen, who is at Parliament House. Matt, exactly how much will this be costing taxpayers?
Good evening, Sandra. $11 billion will be spent over the next 10 years to extend the life of our 6 diesel-powered submarines, with work to begin at the end of this month. The first cab off the rank, HMAS Farncombe, which is more than 28 years old. Upgrades alone for this vessel is expected to take more than 2 years, but the works will ensure the subs are still usable well into the next decade. The upgrades for the remaining fleet will be staggered, with 2 submarines to be ready at all times, so Australia doesn't fall short when it comes to defence capability.
This approach will ensure our Collins-class submarines remain a potent and highly capable undersea platform today and for years to come.
Tonight, the government is reaffirming AUKUS is still on schedule, with the first nuclear sub expected here in the early 2030s. Sandra.
All right, Matt Kustunen reporting from Canberra. Thank you. A man and child have died and the child's mother is now fighting for life after a 3-vehicle crash in Kemps Creek. Emergency teams were called to Mamre Road at around 10:40 last night to find a sedan and a van had hit each other head-on. The sedan, which was being driven by a 21-year-old learner driver, had previously hit a ute before the second collision. The mother and child and the man were all travelling in the sedan. The drivers of all 3 vehicles escaped major injury, with the driver of the sedan and the van taken to hospital for testing. So far, no charges have been laid. Pol Air has tracked a stolen vehicle through multiple southwestern Sydney suburbs this morning before the pursuit came to a rather dramatic end in Campbelltown. The Toyota collided with a parked vehicle and the driver then attempted to flee before being arrested. The 35-year-old had earlier failed to stop for highway patrol officers at Hammondville, more than 20 kilometres away. He attempted to steal a second vehicle before the crash. An Islamic centre in San Diego has become the target of a hate-fuelled attack after 2 teenage gunmen stormed the grounds and then opened fire. 3 people were killed before the shooters turned their weapons on themselves, with police saying the centre's security guard laid down his own life to stop the gunman from reaching dozens of young children who were sheltering inside.
Running for their lives, children as young as 5 flee with their teachers from the San Diego Islamic Center after another mass shooting.
We were having lunch and I heard at least a dozen shots. They sounded like from a semi-automatic weapon.
Police say those shots were fired by 17-year-old Kane Clark and 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez.
One of the deceased is a security guard that works there. And I think played a pivotal role in assisting from this being much worse.
The 2 teenagers then fled the scene in a car, continuing to fire indiscriminately before turning their guns on themselves.
It is extremely outrageous to target a place of worship.
Police swarmed the area, searching inside the Islamic Center grounds.
They did have to breach doors to get into all of the different rooms. Extremely chaotic. There was somewhere between 50 to 100 police officers inside of that facility.
Before finding the suspects dead inside their car just a few blocks away.
There's one of the shooters on the floor getting revived by the police officers, and huge police presence pulled up. All the streets are shut down over there.
For parents and members of the Islamic community, it was an excruciating wait for answers.
Your kids from the mosque? Okay, so there's going to be an officer coming down. They're at the reunification spot right here.
The attack is being treated as a hate crime, with the FBI investigating possible anti-Islamic writings found in the suspect's car. In the United States, Catherine Firkin, 10 News.
There are calls tonight for a 24-hour court system to help ease some pressure on our frontline police officers who the union claims have become more like Uber drivers for those in custody. The Premier says he will consider the move, also announcing a major boost to recruitment.
Bolstering the thin blue line by 349. This cohort, the latest and largest in more than a decade, to march out of the academy. Keeping up the momentum, one additional class will be added to the mix. Starting in December, recruits will be one of 4 groups to graduate in 2027, a move the government predicts will boost numbers by about 30%. And at a time when they're desperately needed.
Good officers are burning out and experienced officers are walking away. And young officers are questioning as to whether this career is sustainable.
There's no point in sugarcoating it. It's an urgent need to change.
Attendees of the Police Association's biennial conference were also informed of an agreement which could see health workers, not police, attend some mental health call-outs. Reforms prompted by recent incidents, including the death of 95-year-old Claire Nowland.
We know that a blue uniform is not always the most appropriate person to attend one of those situations, and we do see the significant workload that police go to.
At the same time, the Minsk government has provided police with extraordinary powers to tackle serious and domestic violence-related crimes, resulting in a surge of arrests. But the union says the justice system can't keep up.
Police cannot continue being the solution for every other failure. And can I say, police are not Uber drivers for those in custody.
They're calling for a US-style night court system to process them faster.
We don't dismiss the calls, the requests, the demands of the Police Association because in the past we've grabbed their initiatives and they've made a difference.
In this case, getting cops back on the beat more quickly. Tallulah Thompson, 10 News.
Tara Rushton is here with a quick preview of tonight's sport. G'day, Tara. The Blues have officially arrived at camp.
They have a new home, Sandra. Welcome Magenta Shores on the Central Coast. That is where they are. We're live at the Blues base with all eyes on Nathan Cleary. Is he ready to deliver for his state? Huge news for the A-League Grand Finalists as Sydney FC makes a big coaching call. We'll have the exclusive details. And cricket has a funny way of humbling even the all-time greats. England's legendary bowler Jimmy Anderson on an off-field excursion. We'll tell you why a little later in sport.
Terrific. See you then. Thanks, Tara. Stay with us. Still to come. More jet fuel, diesel and fertiliser headed to Australia. When is it set to arrive down under? A flood emergency, 2 hikers among dozens rescued as relentless rain bears down. Up close and too personal, the moment Sydney swimmers are joined by a curious shark. And a flower show fit for a king, a star-studded affair in London.